If you are under an evacuation order, you must leave immediately. This isn't a suggestion, it is the law. You may think that you are helping yourself or your neighbors by staying behind or supporting individuals who are staying behind with food or supply runs, but you are not. You're making a highly dangerous situation even more dangerous for everyone involved. I want to thank everybody who has been heeding the evacuation orders and leaving in a safe and orderly manner. But for those who are not, heed this call. Leave. Do not stay behind.
We did conduct a planned ignition on that fire last Thursday. We did it cautiously. We knew the winds were coming. As those winds were approaching, going through the Caribou Fire Center, there was a continuous line of fuel between the main body of the fire and all of the communities along the North Shuswap. Unfortunately, with the wind that we knew was forecast and that was coming, that fire went above the control line that we burned off from and then swept back into the communities in the North Shuswap.
This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth with breaking news on the North Shuswap fires that were intentionally lit by the Canadian authorities. And those same authorities, by the way, are now blocking residents and protesters from entering the area. The clip that you just saw was the director of the wildfire operations, Cliff Chapman, admitting that they started these fires with a planned ignition. And they did this even though they knew extremely strong winds were coming. Watch here as he explains their process and reasoning for doing this in Shuswap, BC.
The second piece I want to discuss is around an operational tactic that we refer to in wildfire as planned ignitions. Planned ignitions, for clarity and in fairly simple terms, is where we will build and or utilize an existing control line, something that is unflammable, a power line where we might use heavy equipment to get down to mineral soil, a lake, a highway, or any variation of that. That was what we would call a control line. We build it in front of the head of the fire, the main body of the fire, and then we conduct a planned ignition utilizing weather experts, fire experts, and operational experts based on what weather is currently on site and what weather is coming. The goal of a planned ignition is to work from the control line to the main body of the fire and remove all fuel by burning it. The main body of the fire generally has wind that draws into it. And so when we light off of the control line, it pulls the fire back into itself, thus eliminating fuels between the main body of the fire and anything past that control line. I want to specifically talk about the Adams Lake, Lower East Adams fire. We did conduct a planned ignition on that fire last Thursday. We did it cautiously. We did it knowing that there was a cold front coming. As BC is aware, we discussed the cold front coming on Wednesday and Thursday. We knew the winds were coming. As those winds were approaching, going through the Caribou Fire Center, there was a continuous line of fuel between the main body of the fire and all of the communities along the North Shuswap. We did our planned ignition under the conditions in which we planned for, and it was largely successful. I want to be perfectly clear, that planned ignition saved hundreds of homes and properties along the North Shuswap. Unfortunately, with the wind that we knew was forecast and that was coming, that fire went above the control line that we burned off from and then swept back into the communities in the North Shuswap. We were still successful in protecting some of those properties along the North Shuswap in the hundreds. Unfortunately, we've also now seen the devastation the main body of that fire had in areas like Scotch Creek, Solista, and others. And our hearts go out to those individuals who have seen the devastating impacts of that fire making its push.
Just a few days ago, I received this email from a PFT viewer. My name is Steph, and my husband Jorn and I own a home at the end of Meadow Creek Road in Solista, BC. The fire department and forestry lit a backburn around 4 p.m. on Thursday, August 17th, knowing there were 30-kilometer winds coming. No news outlets is talking about this. My husband has been monitoring the winds and the Adams Creek fire for weeks. On Tuesday, August 15th, we knew the winds were coming. The fire was approximately 15 kilometers away from us. We don't know who decided to light a backburn knowing the wind forecast. They lit a 14-kilometer backburn right to our back door and never notified us. My dad, who lives in Kelowna, knew about an out-of-control backburn before we did. They didn't even come to tell us. They notified the locals by posting it on a piece of paper at the gas station. At 8:45 p.m., we saw the fire just over the ridge, and by 12 p.m., it had reached Meadow Creek Road and was in my backyard. Without the back burn, we could have had a whole day to prepare. We did have sprinklers up, water tanks loaded, and generators ready to go. We knew we were pretty much on our own and would not receive much help. The fire department did come down the road and were there briefly. Once they deemed the fire out of control, they left. When the fire came into the valley, we watched it burn up the sides of the mountain due to the humidity dome created with all the sprinklers and water. The fire department abandoned us. About 2 hours had passed when some locals came down our valley with resources and help. I was notified that the fire department was sitting in a field having coffee, so I went to get them. When I got there, I asked them to come help us, told them the situation. One of the firemen told me they wanted to help, but they had orders to sit. I yelled at them to get in their trucks and come help us. They said they would. I went back down the road to notify our crew that they were coming. I sat and waited, but no one came. About 15 minutes had gone by, so I went back up the road and found them sitting about 1 kilometer away. They told me they were assessing the situation. I asked how they could assess it if they couldn't see it. I again asked them to come help, and they finally did. Everyone ran around putting hot spots out. We wore water packs and half masks with headlamps for the next 3 days, making sure our houses made it through. In the initial days after the super fire, the locals were able to get water, gas, and supplies, but now there is a heavy police presence. They have the roads blocked off, saying they are preventing looting. The locals are being told to return to their homes. They're not allowed to be helping at all. There are spike strips on the road, police blocks everywhere. There are people trying to get essential supplies in, such as water, gas, and food by boat. They are being turned away. Police are patrolling the roads and water. They have the gas stations blocked off. We need the real story to get out so that we can get help. We are more than equipped to help put this fire out, but are being stopped. We need resources such as gas, diesel to keep us going. They're trying to starve us out so they can let it burn. And clips are starting to emerge of people trying to bring in supplies, and they're being blocked by the RCMP.
Hi there, how are you? Hi.
That's some bad news. No one's allowed in anymore.
That is definitely going to be a problem.
Yeah.
I am feeding the whole town right now.
Hey?
I'm personally feeding the whole town right now.
Well,
It is, so hold on, can I see this phone for a second?
I've been ordered not to let anyone across the bridge, so you can go through CSRD and see if they'll let you through, but right now you're not allowed across the bridge.
So, okay, well, we'll walk then. Hi, guys. So, let me chat for a moment. So, what you did to us right there, you totally tricked us. So I came across already. You were here in this car when I came across the first time. Yeah. So and so that's where that is. Don't you think that's a problem?
No.
So now I live over there. I'm literally feeding this entire community right now.
Yes, something happened and nobody's allowed across the bridge.
Okay, what has happened exactly? We need some answers. Like our community needs some answers. This is not going to go well. For anybody, and we're not trying to do anything. Sorry, what's your name?
Constable Gill.
And what's your ID?
Badge number is 56051.
Okay, so you were instructed to stop everyone who comes across this bridge.
Correct.
And so for what reason?
I was given an order and I'm following that order.
Okay, well, what is the order exactly?
To not let anyone across the bridge.
We need an answer on to why.
Contact Sergeant Kennedy at the Chase RCMP.
Can you get me his number, please?
I do not have his number. Google it.
It turns out she's not the only one. Last night, about 20 protesters showed up to confront the police. Frustrated with wildfire response in the Shuswap area, locals organized a Truth and Freedom convoy. Days after tensions started simmering in the Shuswap area of BC over wildfire fighting efforts, a convoy of locals attempted to seek answers at an area roadblock. A notice of the so-called Convoy of Truth and Freedom was posted to a local Facebook group Wednesday, instructing drivers to gather at the Shuswap Community Center at 6 p.m. before vehicles would make their way down towards Sorrento. We wish to engage in a diplomatic and peaceful conversation with checkpoint officers to seek clarity as to why such a large block. The threat of the fires is greatly reduced, read the post. Organizers wrote that their intention was to start the process of dismantling the blockade and opening Highway 1 between Sorrento and Blind Bay. And here's a short clip of some of those people attempting to reason with the police.
Look guys, it's just this, the order is the order, right? Well, there's massive,
you know it's wrong. You know that
going,
order is wrong,
there
bro.
Are massive theft issues.
You know in your heart that order is wrong.
We're not going stealing though. Okay, but how do I know that?
Well, okay, well you can.
You can follow us.
Your hands are tied.
That's why the heavy hand had to come down and say,
you know that
if
order
you're
is wrong,
here,
guys.
if you're in here, then you have to stay on your property because we don't know if anybody in here is the one who's doing it.
Do you want to escort us?
Okay?
Do you want to escort us to the dock right now?
No, I'm not going to escort you to the dock right now.
Don't fire them up.
You have to stay on your property if you're in here. Okay. Do you have property in here?
Yes, I do.
Okay, where's your property?
It's right. I just passed you right down there.
Yeah.
There was a flare up, and I was driving around because I came to grab water, and I took 20 gallons down there, and we ran into the back and behind my house at the base of the mountain, and we just ran in there with shovels, and we just.
We're out there fighting fires
down there.
We're
and
like
I understand
in the middle
you don't know
forest
whether
fires.
I'm stealing.
No
I have
one's
a bike
here.
in the back of my truck.
No one's here. Where's the government?
That's
I'm
not.
also, I live here, and we
No
were
one's
here when
here.
the
You
flare
guys are coming and just
Anybody
messing
who's
with
driving
us.
down the road, it
where
doesn't
are
matter
you guys?
whether you're biking the truck,
Where's our
what your
support?
truck looks like. Everybody's
Everything's
getting
burning around us.
Protesters attempt to bypass RCMP wildfire blockade near Shuswap, BC. Protesters have tried to bypass an RCMP blockade on the Trans-Canada Highway in British Columbia's Shuswap region amid tensions over the refusal of some residents to obey wildfire evacuation orders. Live social media videos of the incident posted Wednesday evening show about 20 protesters confronting a blockade of police cars near the lakeside community of Sorrento. They tell officers they do not believe politicians have the right to prevent them using the road and that it is illegal for the RCMP to block it. The group, which organized itself on Facebook, had hoped to rally enough support to push through the closure to enter the evacuation zone, saying they plan to support property owners still fighting the fires inside. And speaking of property owners, in case you guys missed my videos from last week, make sure you watch The Truth About the Maui Land Grabs and What May Have Caused the Fires, and also Arson is Not Climate Change. What you need to know about the raging fires in Canada and the US. And the bottom line is, we can't rely on the government for help because they are most often than not the ones who are responsible for creating the problem in the first place. It's their modus operandi of order out of chaos, utilizing a problem, reaction, solution type scenario. So what we need to do is focus on having zero interactions with the powers that ought not be. And we have to support each other in our local communities, especially in the face of these blatant land grabs that are being blamed on climate change. My friends, please share this important video and get the word out about what's happening to people here in British Columbia. And if you appreciate my efforts to bring you this information, please check me out at pressfortruth.ca/donate. A link is located at the top of the description below. If you just click on more, wherever you happen to be watching this, maybe on BitChute or on Odyssey or on Rumble. If you're on my website, just go to any one of those platforms, click on the description of the video, and there you will find all the sources to this video and also links to where you can support my efforts moving forward. And that's all for today, guys. I want to thank you so much once again for tuning in. Once again, don't forget to share this video and click that thumbs up button. And stay tuned. We're going to have more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.